morning or good afternoon from yammybtv, depending on when this video reaches you, of course. Sending loads of love to you as usual. Now, the topic I'm bringing up this morning is one that's been raised before in probably different formats and different methods. But his name and others that I'm going to mention now have been mentioned on the channel before. The only difference is that in the last couple of days, alleged new information has come to light regarding these convictions and these characters. So we know we're hearing allegedly, no, not allegedly, factually, that a solicitor or somebody involved in the case has come up and said that we have new evidence that LBellfield, who we know I've got some kind of small history with, and Michael Stone, who I've also got some kind of small history with, though fair to say I haven't spent long enough with both of them to be a clinical psychologist to say that I know their characters inside out. But I would say after all those years, and some of you probably would agree, that Uncle Yammy is a good judge of character with certain things during that life, especially in an institutional setting and criminals. Because, you know, sadly, we have to say that I probably would have to admit that I'm a specialist at it because I spent so long in there and met all kinds of characters with all different types of behaviours. Now, it comes out that LBellfield has apparently confessed to the Russell murders. I remember little young Josie Russell still around, happily to report, so I hear. But mother, the rest, they perished that day. And obviously what she has to go through and whatever goes through her mind and her remembrance. We know she does a lot of drawings and things, and there will be a lot of reminders about such a traumatic event taking place in her life at that time. We know through EFIT that, you know, it's fair to say, talking to a few on my WhatsApp this morning, even they agree that some of those EFITs fitted the profile of LBellfield. We know LBellfield got convicted of some horrific, horrendous crimes against young girls and young women. To such an extent, they'll go down in history of the worstest of its kind, right? So we know he's lifed off never to be coming out, right? So I'd say, I'll put my hand up and I'll say I reckon I'm a good judge of characters like that. And I'm also a good judge of characters, I would say, on the normal kind of criminal, not great big names like me, for instance. Michael Stone as well. Like, you think in your mind when it first happened, like I was jumping on the bandwagon a little bit, thinking, oh yeah, how could, you know, joining in with prison population that he's been convicted, that means that it's him. When now when I look back, and even then with the knowledge I had then of the skullduggery with round the police, with which ways they can gain results and things like that, and we know years later lots of things come to light and they've been found to be lying. So we'll stick in the LBellfield case for now. So we can say also that they are currently together, or were together, in Franklin Rule 43 Protection Wing, where LBellfield, again, let's get this right, another inmate, he's allegedly told him that it was me that committed the murders on the Russells, right? And I want to get it off my chest. Oh, blah, blah, blah. Michael Stone, solicitor, is going to jump on that. See, there you are. We always said it was him, blah, 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 blah. Rightly so. Going to jump on, protect him, because, you know, we're of the belief that it isn't Michael Stone who committed that crime. I say that I knew his character because I'm thinking that because of the kind of crimes you committed, if we're going on the modus operandum of someone like me or people with previous characters. We know characters can change. We know you can go from being a light-hearted criminal to the wickedest criminal on earth. But I would stick my neck on the line and I would guarantee you that Michael Stone's only interest in crime was to get his next fix. I can't see how, with his character the way it was, that he would have been bludgeoning everybody to death with no financial gain, because sadly, the thoughts that go on with that life when you're leading it, especially when you're after drugs or trying to get money to do things, there'd be many, many ways for him to do worse, to do crimes of not that nature and get paid for it and get what he's after. So we know that his previous crimes do not fit the crime that he's been convicted of. So with my prison brain, I'm trying to join the dots And we know another prisoner has said this about Levi Belfield. I don't know whether it's come out of his own mouth yet. But it would have gone something like this. Michael Stone would have had to approach him and said, Levi, listen, mate, be honest, be a man, be honourable. You're never getting out. You go and tell them the truth that it was you. And let me please go home, please, because I've had to suffer long enough. Can you do me that favour? Or, if we're playing devil's advocate, Michael Stone, I would say unlikely, but a possibility that he could say to Levi Belfield, well, listen, mate, I'm over here with you. Please, you're not getting out. Go and take that charge for me. Say it was you, because you ain't getting out. I've got a chance of getting out. If you say that it's you, that means I get another chance of appeal, also another chance of getting, rightly so, out. So that's the only bit that where there could be a bit of skullduggery involved, right? The only difference is, with knowing the characters, albeit slightly, I can't see Michael Stone and Levi Belfield sitting around the table together. Levi Belfield's a character, even if you wanted to sit down and talk about football, cricket, anything other than anything, you will feel funny in his presence. And even if he's trying to act like a decent human being now, we know already that he's converted to religion and the Father in heaven for looking for forgiveness. Who am I to judge? Maybe his soul's changed so much that he is really changed. But I will stick my neck out on the line, and if I get punished by it from the man upstairs, then I will accept that. But I would be a betting man to believe that he's just playing that card just so that he can get a little bit of love from where there is none for him. Where he's got time to reflect on all these horrific crimes in there, where other prisoners are going to say, well, look, at least he's saying sorry, especially the real godly ones, you know, who believe in redemption of any kind, you know, and they'll say, well, you know, I'm not judge. You know, if anyone, no one's beyond redemption from God, very rightly so. But I just cannot see Michael Stone. I could see probably Michael Stone getting a message to him and approaching him. You know, I haven't seen him for hundreds and hundreds of years. I wouldn't know, but I just can't see Levi Belfield sitting in a cell with him and having a bargain and talking about it and saying, do this and do that for me and do that, because I just don't believe he's a man who would be admitted to a couple of crimes or allegedly would want to admit to anything more, because he's been proved to have been lying about his crimes anyway. Wasn't like he confessed straight away and said, oh, look, it was me and I did it all wrong and I was sad. There was none of that during the case. There weren't mitigating circumstances where he showed any sign of remorse or anything. Do you see what I mean? So Michael Stone has tried and tried and tried, and he's had appeals and it's got absolutely nowhere. So we're going to go through the whole thing again. And my betting is, in the end, that Michael Stone gets back out. Whether it's on the back of that horrible man is another thing. I don't know. But I know that hopefully in my lifetime, or in some of you's lifetime, it will come out that Michael Stone. The only thing then that bothers me again is that the conviction of Michael Stone, if we're going to keep talking about it, we're going to talk about the one witness that said, who changed his mind years later and said, no, I was coaxed into it, I lied, they made a deal with me to get off a case, and they promised that if I gave evidence against him to get him, because we know that the police, when big cases happen in communities, we know the DI or the detective superintendent comes out, tells all the lads in the morning, listen, I need a result on this case and I need it fast. So they're out there trying to find out, you know, who's done it, who's in the frame, who was seen where, and who's got previous for this, and who, you know, whatever. And we know that in the old days, it was easier to fit people up. Not so in their day, in the way that they've been convicted. But in the beginning of time, remember, there was no interviews, no cameras. Everything's recorded now. You know, in the old days, you could even have a statement written by the police that you have to initial and that kind of stuff. I mean, that you could have a written statement back in the day that you don't even sign. And they could go into court and say, well, there is a statement, but he didn't sign it. because right at the end of the interview, we said something he didn't like, and then he kind of half changed, but it could still, it used to be still be able to be used a little bit, but though late years later, that kind of confession wouldn't have been able to work. But they're not allowed to pull skullduggery tricks these days, because all the technology and the new things that go with being interviewed, and so that nothing in later life can be used to say, you know, he said, they said, this happened, that. They've got everything recorded and everything written down in the correct procedure so that these things don't happen. So you think if a DI or detective superintendent at that time, who wants to score points, basically, or somebody that wants to move up the ladder to be in a higher position in the police force, if he clears up such a big case, he gets the rewards and the points for it. So whether it comes out 20, 25 years later that it was all a whole lot of fanny, and excuse the language, and it's been proved that, you know, the whole case was a charade, he's going to be old and grey now. He's not even going to be in the police force, and I don't think it's hardly going to matter that much to him now, is it? He's not going to, but it's not going to bother him that much. It can't ruin his career, because his career's finished already. Years and years have gone by. So right from the beginning of time, the Barry George case, the Colin Stagg case, there was a few more this morning we were talking about, where they were saying the Birmingham 4, the Guildford 6, you know, and even the Carl Bridgewater case. Remember the newspaper boy that died, and they used to get on the roofs and protest? I was a young kid then, sadly, happily, I never got to meet any of them. But I was hearing all the stories growing up about, you know, them protesting their innocence, and then it proved that, you know, again, statements were falsified by the police, and they got convicted on the word of that I'm a police officer. Because I'm a police officer, that means that what I'm saying is the absolute truth. And they had to spend years and years and years and years away. And up till today, whenever their case comes up, or there's a name of their name being mentioned, it will be associated with that case. Fact. Whether you got off later on in life, it hardly matters. Your name will be tarnished forever and ever, because it will always be, will be. Even if Michael Stone got let out tomorrow, it will still be, you know, yeah, but they said that about him. They said this about him. You know, there was rumours that it might have been him and whatever. If you ever wanted to start out again in life, I've got a man coming this week, novelist Hal Bride, who got convicted, sadly, of a rape case and got found guilty on the word. I wasn't there, but, you know, it was later proved in the appeal court with a shadow of a doubt that it was all a pack of lies, and he had to spend a couple of years in there until he won his appeal. And he was expecting to walk out of the courtroom to, you know, photographers flashing, you know, like it was, you know, in his own mind. All the stuff that went through what he went through, and still going through today, we're going to find out this week, because I've got a podcast with him. Because, you know, I'm very much for the ladies out here. Well, I've always been a ladies man anyway. But I didn't know until I came out this time, unless there was big cases of ladies being abusers. I didn't realise there was more lady abusers with children and paedophilia than I ever realised since I come out, you know, from those closest to me and through statistics, because it never passed through my mind. I used to always think it was men that committed such horrendous crimes. But your name can never get unattached from those crimes. A man's looking to move on now, writing great novels and giving back to the community, and he doesn't know whether to tell it, be in a relationship and mention to his new girlfriend or something. These trust issues with everything goes out the window because of what happened that night. And if we're going to go by, it's all right, everyone say, yeah, but he might have still done it, he might have still done it. But if it's all right then, if he got convicted, then we're all going to go, yeah. But when you get found not guilty afterwards, why shouldn't we all feel the same way as we did when he got found guilty? Good, he got found guilty. He got found not guilty, believing in the British law. We've got to believe that the justice system makes a lot of mistakes, but it doesn't make that many. But it's just so interesting that the ones that they have made, the big ones, it's all right as well, making me laugh, is that it's all right for you to say, yeah, sorry, we got that bit wrong and we got that bit wrong. And that's what I was going to say earlier, that the other geezer in the witness in the Michael Stone case, he's adamant. He ain't changing his mind. DD, his name is, and he's saying, "Oh, I don't care what's his name says, that he was coaxed into saying that I'm still standing by that I saw him and that he came to me afterwards with blood on him or whatever and whatever, and it was definitely him." So he's still standing by it. He's still standing by what he said. So he's not changing his mind for no one. But yeah, isn't it interesting when the police, that's what I was going to say, when the police have got it right, they want all the points and yeah, didn't we do well? We cleared it up and we caught them out this way. We know that there's a lot of cases. Remember I was watching the body language one of when sadly children have been murdered by family members, close to family members, and then they go on the press conference. We knew the famous one with Ian Huntley where he's the caretaker and he stands up there with what's her name and says, yeah, no, yeah, very, very sad case, and only to find out that it was him. And then they play back some of these things and then they look at the body language of what's taking place at the time. But isn't it interesting that they're quick to take all the glory for when they get it right? Yeah, we cleared it up. It was a very, it was a massive case. It could have cost this much money. Many people were at risk and we all deserve a pat on the back. But it takes you years and years and years when you know full well that you've got one wrong, and then in the end you're going to go, yes, sadly we can't get everything right. I mean, but it takes you years and years to admit that you got this one wrong, but you didn't say that when you got it right. You took it very, very quickly to say, yeah, we got this one right. But it takes so much time and extra work and more money and more appeals and more things coming up like now for them to go, all right, we got it wrong. We knew that you got it wrong. We've been telling you got it wrong, but you won't admit to it until it's absolutely conclusive that you cannot slide out of the lies and the hidden agendas behind the scenes of the crimes when they're going on, all the skullduggery, because he had to tell, listen, I'll have to tell you that, that secret. You cover for me and I'll cover for you. You know how we do it. We've got to get a result. It's more than likely that bastard anyway. So you lot got to live with all what you got to live with. Like some of us criminals got to live with what we got to live with, if you get what I mean. So they carry those things to the grave. But in the end, you all got to face the man in heaven, because you know that you didn't play it straight. And there's nothing worse than sending an innocent man to jail, especially whether we deserve to be punished for all our crimes. I know that I deserve to be punished for all my crimes, but there's just some cases that cannot be forgiven, where you've moved the goalpost to get results at that moment, when in years, because you're thinking, well, it's not going to come out for now, and if it does, it'll be 20, 25 years later. By that time, I won't be accountable. I'll be able to slide out of it. That's basically what I'm saying. Basically, is that too long to talk about it this morning? But you're going to ask me, that's the question, do I believe that he's confessed, and do I believe that he did it? LB, do I believe it? Do I believe that they're in Franklin together, that they've coerced together to come up with this? We had this on another case recently, you remember? We knew that, with the Barry George one, we knew that was the biggest jokey one that ever, because even I've had my flashes of doubt, to be honest, with the Barry George one, because up till today, as much as they're saying it was a professional and now, and it's never, normally something always comes to light years and years and years later, but never nothing out of the Jill Dando, never a single trace of, of anything to suggest that it could be somebody. You say it could be the Eastern Europeans, it could be this, it could be that, but you haven't shown us anything where we know for definite, if we did find out today that it was Belfield, there'd be no surprises, would there? Because his name's been mentioned and the type of crimes he's done in the past, and at the same time, you could put that kind together. No, it could never be factual. You can never say, yeah, 100% it was him. It would all tie together and it would make some kind of sense. But the Jill Dando one doesn't ever seem to have any made of any sense of whatsoever. Though there's many talk in the grapevine that there was something about to come out that they needed to stop her talking to think. But hold on a minute, you're coming out with that one, But even if it wasn't her, the one that was going to talk about what was going to be coming out, just because she died, somebody else would be able to get that information to go up there and present it on Crime Watch. So that wouldn't have made no sense to me, because just because you got her out of the way, what you were trying to stop coming out would still come out. So that's not a feasible excuse, is it? Or an excuse or a way out of silencing somebody. Do you see what I mean? But yeah, do I believe that he failed? And I do. I do. If you get what I mean, I'm not saying nothing. But I definitely know Michael Stone definitely never done that. I don't care what anyone says. I'll stick my name on the line. And I know for definite Michael Stone never done that. We've gone into it before. I'm coming up in a minute anyway with a lighter-hearted subject. Not so much like I always say that, don't I? But I mean something where there's a bit more going on. Travelling with my sons at the moment. Going to spend some time with him today. Little family issues that are coming up now. That I realise a lot of you have been going through for years and years and years. I had something to report today, but I can't because I've been told I'm not allowed to yet because it's family stuff, and I don't know if whether that's a good idea or not. But another thing I'm learning, I'm getting all age groups now that I've got grandchildren. Now that I've got relations to younger generations, I'm finding out a lot more how these things work online with certain age groups, 16, 17-year-olds being groomed by older men and their experiences. And so Uncle Yammy's gathering intelligence now, because I've never had this generation around me before where I can, ask what kind of questions are being asked and how, what do they come with, their fast cars, their jewelry, and praying as the lovely Tasha from Manchester this morning tells me. They come with all this stuff and they prey on the vulnerable ones who haven't got a pint of milk at home, who mum and dad hasn't got the material or the money to go and buy them certain things to live in, so that they live a normal, get the normal things that children can get at a young age, that when they see their friends getting them, if they're offered by those kind of men, that it will become an opinion. But it's a whole different subject. But yeah, I've answered it for you today, and the only thing I can't answer is the conversation that could have taken place. It's so funny, isn't it, that they're in the same prison, Franklin. But I'll be up in a bit, sending loads of love on this Sunday.